Well, howdy, physics sleuths and inquisitive souls, and welcome again to another episode or lecture of dynamic gravity. I made a promise a few months ago on this channel that I would explain magnetic fields to you as I understand them. Now, most of my videos I present to you half known, established, factual knowledge that is indisputable. And then the other half is how the world must behave, how physics and the universe must be if dynamic gravity is correct. And it's amazing, really, that so far I've been able to explain virtually everything I've touched with no conflicts or extremely little conflict, where the standard model or any of the leading theories like string theory or general relativity just fail miraculously at this in all endeavors, except one or two, which they're highly touted and overrepresented. But when it comes to magnetic fields, we actually do understand fairly well what magnetic fields are, going down to the level of virtual photons, which I have yet to fully grasp. I'm working on it. It's going to take time. It's a very hard concept. There's a lot of oddities that don't add up when I run the simulations. But for the most part, when I get done with this lecture, you're going to be one of the most world's renowned experts on how magnetic fields operate and what's really going on. It's not that there aren't others out there. It's just that it's a very short list. There's probably more people that have been to Antarctica and can describe to you a first-hand experience of Antarctica than there are that can accurately tell you what the hell is going on with magnetic fields. Even the physicist goat himself, Richard Feynman, when asked, he couldn't muster an answer. He just said, "Well, I think you should just learn it for yourself in physics. I don't want to deny you that. You don't know. Shut up. You don't know. You don't get it." And like I said, there's it's not that nobody knows. There are people that know. It's just that there's very few people that know the majority of the whole picture to show you what's really going on. So, let's go down this rabbit hole. First, gotta have a sip. Because if you're not doing your math and physics drunk, then you're a nerd. And we're not nerds on this channel. We're geeks. We're nerds with swagger. Don't mess it up. We also like to fight. Another difference between geeks and nerds. We will fight you. We don't care. We're a little rambunctious. Okay. Let's go. So, before we understand what a magnetic field is, it's first good to understand how electric generators work. Okay? So, here's a picture of a typical electrical generator, right? You got a bunch of magnets, and you have a stator coil in the middle with just basically all electrically conductive, wiring all wound up to be one. That's what it's acting as. Now, as this stator in here, let's see if I can go here. Yeah, as this stator turns in this magnetic array, what's happening? The way it was described to me when I was once upon a time in my electronic wizard school back in the military for my 33 whiskey, back when it was the legit goat of all physics jobs to have. There were people in my class in the Army who literally quit the Army as soon as they got their MOS certificate for the electronics certificate. because that was it. That was all they needed. And they were able to get extremely high level, high paying jobs. All they had to do was just bail out of the army somehow. Say you're gay, punch someone in the face. They did all sorts of crazy things. I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. Out of a class of like 8, only 5 of us graduated because 3 were like, I got my electronic certificate. I'm out. See ya. And they were able to get like $150,000 jobs, 1,000-year jobs, at least a 100,000-year job. I was able to get a 100,000-year job when I got out with little or no effort. So when I say things to you guys about these things, just know I'm not a schmo. I'm not some idiot who watched a video on it once upon a time give me my take. I am by far one of the few people in the world who understand this on a level that is unparalleled in the world of science. You should pay attention to me when I speak. So, this spins inside of this, okay? And what's going on here, the way it was described to me in wizard class, is all bullshit. It was saying that electrons are like ping pong balls in a tube. And when you push them with a magnet or an electrical force, like an electrical imbalance, then what happens is those ping pong balls push each other through the tube, and it's like coming out like an array of ping pong balls, which is actually electrons. And the electrons were always there. All you're doing is forcing them to move. This never made any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. It's not right. It's not correct. Fact of the matter is, if this truly were the way it would be, and I realized this immediately, nobody could give me an answer to it, then the electrons would be coming from the copper coil. That would be the source. So the electrons are being dislodged and moved. Well, eventually, after so many bazillions of hours of use, how many ever you want to calculate, it probably wouldn't be that many, you would deplete all of your electrons and your valence shell, and you just have this ionized block of copper, the cations. And it wouldn't be good to create electricity anymore. So electrical generators would have a life. A life of so many years, months, however long, depending on how long they're used, and then they just wouldn't have any more electrons left to dislodge to create an electric current through these mechanisms. Clearly, that is not the case. I have worked on electrical generators. They're decades old. They have the same power outputs almost exactly as they did when they were brand new. This is bullshit. This is not right. What's really going on here is, to get the full picture, you have to go back and watch my lecture I made a couple months ago on photons and how electrons are created, and how electrons are just basically the highest energy state of a photon. That's what an electron is. That's all it is. So what's really happening is, as these are spinning and the magnetic field is moving in relation a certain direction to your electric coils, your wires, copper wires, what it's doing is it's moving. Let's see here. Let's go back to all this stuff. This was our previous lecture. Don't need that anymore. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So let's say we got our proton, right? And our proton is one down quark with 2 up quarks attached to it, right? And then you have an electron right here. What we learned was that if the electron moves at all in relation to the proton, it creates a photon. If it moves the maximum distance it's allowed to before it will reset, you have created an electron. An electron creates more electrons when it's being forced to in the presence of electric field or a magnetic field, and the two are related. You really can't have one without the other, so it's kind of the same force. So, excuse me, you have a bar magnet, boop, 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 beep, bop, boop, bop, the north and south poles. Doot, doot, doot. And this bar magnet is moving, right? It's moving all around. Doot, 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 doot. And this movement, it is generating force because the electron is affected by the magnet. Even though it's also affected by this magnet, the proton, it is affected by this external magnet. And when this moves, well, guess what? They both move, da, 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 which means now you're creating photons, which means the maximum photon you can create is an electron, which is what's happening with how much force is going here. Boop, boop. And then you get another electron that pops out of this according to your right-hand rule, and it just goes ping, but it doesn't go the speed of light like it should. It goes slower because it's in the field, the electromagnetic force field of the proton, so it now has inertial drag forces, which means it cannot go its full speed. That's why electrons go about 137th the speed of light in the orbit, or otherwise known as the fine structure constant. I went into this in that video as well and explained kind of what's going on. Another tidbit I gave you that really no one else in physics can explain to you. They don't understand the world like I do. They don't have my training, my experience, my brain. They don't have it. So, this is what has happened. This is how electricity is made. You have magnets that are moving, or the coil that is moving. One's moving in relation to the other. And it is dislodging this electron to its maximum belt. It can't go and it can't touch this proton. All right, I probably should have given you a better example of why. But the reason why, because as I said, in the core of this proton is an electron. And the electrons repel each other, so it will never touch. But the protons want to attract it, so it doesn't want to pull it, so it's going to be locked into a certain position. A good example of this would be like this magnet right here, okay?
Now the clever part is when we put these two pieces together as an assembly, we've now got a single magnetic system.
So if we put these together,
which are being repelled by this.
What's going on is you got one magnet in the middle that's attracting, and then these smaller magnets, they're repelling, just like I say the structure of an atom is. And what happens when you have these two interact?
Magnet. What's going to happen when I bring this?
It goes exactly what I says happen, and the electron or in the atom. They attract,
and it stopped.
But they stop. They never go any closer or further away without external force being added in the form of photonic energy or electrons or magnetic force, blah,
closer,
blah, blah.
But not further away.
So you see, it's magnetically locked.
That's absolutely amazing.
Okay?
If I turn this one.
This is a thing. Okay? And this has not been known about for a very long time. What this guy is describing here, the patent for this came about in 2012. Not that long ago. This is not widely known knowledge to anyone. Except for your nerds like me. My bad. Geeks like
one. Well, nothing much there.
That's what's going on.
Big one, though.
So, this is how electricity is made. These magnets keep going non-stop, boop, 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 forcing this to go boop, 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 and just pumping out electron after electron after electron continuously, infinitely. You're exchanging physical force of what you're pitting in to move this magnet is ultimately being translated into creating electrons and electric current from that physical force that you're using to spin these stators, rotors, blah, blah, blah. Now, I know I'm not explaining to you what a magnet is yet, but we're getting there. It's this whole arch that we have to kind of go over to get into this rabbit hole. It's a pain. It's not an easy one. So let us start at always one of the bestest places, I believe, Wikipedia. Started in my hometown, woo, Tampa, Florida, by a porno producer of all things. Yeah. Sometimes you're surprised where things come from. It is basically saying like how magnetic fields are generated from different sources. We have, infinite cylinder wires, blah, 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 cylinder loops, solenoids, infinite solenoids, circular toroids. They have a lot of good information here. They have a lot of good information here at Wikipedia. Like I said, there are people that understand exactly how magnetic fields work. There's just not that many of them, is the problem. Okay? So, we're going to come up here, and here's the classic diagram. We're going to go into that a little bit more. Yes, a magnetic field is a physical field that describes a magnetic influence on moving electric charges. Electric charges and magnetic materials, a moving charge and a magnetic field experiences a force perpendicular to its own velocity and to the magnetic field. Do you understand what they're talking about? I don't either, and I know what they're talking about. But the way they worded it, I can tell. They're just using clever buzzwords and thick Latin scientific terminology to disguise the fact that they're saying, I know some things about this, but I don't know how it actually works. And if we go here to right here, okay, how do magnets work? We go, is magnetism fully understood? Magnetism is a mysterious force in the universe. Scientists don't fully understand why it occurs in the first place. They aren't sure why these particles have a north and a south direction either, according to live science, and there are many forms of magnetism. All right? Now, this is not really true. This is Popular Mechanics saying this. They're a pretty good source, but this is not true. I mean, this is what the vast majority of people believe. But as I've said to you, there are a few people that do understand. There's not many of them. All right? And if you try and understand what they're talking about, all magnets have a north and south pole, opposite poles, and the poles repel each other. And when you rub a piece of iron on the it doesn't tell you how it works. It just tells you what defines a magnet. Magnets work. This is probably the best one I found so far, explaining what's going on. Magnets work because of an arrangement of movement of electrons and their molecules. Just like I said, right? Remember when I showed you this and I told you there is electrons that are being created from this operation of it spinning here, and they are being forced in a particular direction from the right-hand rule in electric field movements. This is kind of what it's alluding to right here. These electrons spin in the same direction, creating small magnetic fields that align with certain materials like iron. See, now they're going off into domains. They started off giving you a clue of what was going on an atomic level, and now they're at a macroscopic level of domains. So they can't give you a full, complete answer like I'm going to. I know, this video is probably going to take a while. It sucks, but I promised you I'd make it, so I'm going to make it. Okay, so magnets are very important. They work off of the right-hand rule, okay? And I don't see it here. Yeah, here we go. The right-hand rule. Finding magnetic force. So let's say we have a circle, okay, and it's going this way. The velocity of your electron is going this way. The magnetic field is going to go, so it goes like this. Oh my gosh, I hate how they do this. Okay, yeah, so the magnetic field is going to go down. It's going to be going down all this direction, which is going to be going towards the North Pole, from south to North Pole of how this circular operation goes. Your force of the electron is going this way because it's going in a circular, but the actual force of the magnetic field is going to be pulling inward towards the core of the magnet. That's what this is telling you, okay? Here's a little more into it, all right? The right-hand rule is very important. This describes, if there's any one thing that you have to understand, if you want to understand electromagnetism or the electromagnetic force or any of this stuff, maybe not the electromagnetic force, maybe, but definitely electromagnetism and the EM field, it is going to be the right-hand rule. This is the most important thing. You have to understand what is going on here. And it's just basically telling you if your electron is going this direction, then your electric field is going this, or my bad, your magnetic field is going this way, and your your magnetic force is going this way. That's it. That's all it's doing. If an electron go this way, magnetic field go this way, force go this way. That's all it is. Don't get it twisted. Now, why that is a whole nother kerfluffle that we are not going to go into today. And I don't even understand why that is exactly. That is going to definitely go into the nature of virtual photons, which I am going to master one of these days. Right now, I'm currently working on iteration 3 of my anti-gravity experiments. I'm feeling hopeful. Got some new things to try out that I have not thought of yet that I think are going to be great. Another video for another day. So, the right-hand rule is extremely important. Okay. Now,
there's a ring. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you this so you see that I am totally on the level and I know what I'm talking about when I talk about atoms and how they're made up and what they're doing. Nobody else knows this on the planet but me. Nobody. And the people that I've tried to teach it to literally think I'm a moron. And I'm stupid. Really? I can calculate gravity, anti-gravity, dark matter, dark energy with the same equation that I created. I'm the stupid one between the two of us? Okay, all right, whatever. So, this is where things start getting a little interesting, okay? This is a magnet, and they're sprinkling iron filings around it to show you the magnetic field around it. This is all bullshit. I mean, it is showing you, the strength of the force. But what's happening is, and it's been long speculated but not proven yet to my knowledge, is that these electric or iron filings are getting electrolyzed and magnetized when they're in this magnetic field. And they now act like tiny magnets. And when they do that, they tend to string together because of their orientations. And then when you have magnets stringing together, they're going to naturally make layers of contiguous things, okay? Now, what you do need to know is that when I'm talking about the right-hand rule, this is how it works in magnets, okay? You have this magnet right here, okay? This magnet right here. And let's make it again. Only this time, let's show it to you from the side. It's a circular magnet, okay? And so we can show the rest of it. Okay. Now, the way the right-hand rule works here, and I don't understand exactly why this is. I don't know everything about the universe yet. I'm working on it. But the electrons that are in this magnetic field, or in this magnet, are moving around, okay? They're actually going in a circle, like this. Do, 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 do. Okay? And what that's doing is here you have our right-hand rule. Remember? You got a circle. You got a circle. Your electrons are going this direction. Your electrons are going this direction of the force, right here, this direction. Which means your electric field is going this way and the force is going this way. So, what that means for this is that it's going this way. Your electric field, it's going to be one or the other, but I think it's going to be going this way. It's going to be your electric field, which is a B with a line over it. Going this way, which is going to ultimately designate a pole. This will be the North Pole, the direction in which the electric field is going to. But your electrons are spinning in circles around this. And then your actual force of electrically conductive materials, I'll explain why that is. Your force is going, I suck at drawing, I suck. And to the center, to the core of the magnet. So if you have like an iron filing, it is going to be attracted, bloop, like this to it. Now, this says that the force is not going to probably be as strong on the ends, according to this, as it is on the sides because of the way it's being done. They will definitely have some force on the ends, but we're going to go into this. We're not done with this yet. We got a lot to cover. Don't worry. You're not there yet. You're not there yet. We waka waka. We're not there yet. Okay. So, just know that. This is not the actual field, okay? There is no actual lines of force that are leaving the magnet from the South Pole and traveling all in this big arch is being pulled, and then reconnecting with the magnet in the north, and then going through the magnet, and then going back over again. No. This is just how the iron is reacting to this magnetic field because it itself is becoming a magnet. So you have a field consisting of a bunch of tiny magnets. And this is how it's going to be laid out. There are no lines of force of the magnet that's actually doing this looping mechanism. It doesn't work like that. There's no looping mechanism going on in a magnet. It's all just being pulled to it or away. The only looping you can actually argue is going on would be the looping of the electrons. They're going in a loop. And why that is, I can't really say, but obviously it has to be that way. So, we're going to have to go into the periodic table here. Now, they say, oh, these are typical conductor metals, blah, 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 and costs are factors, and do. This is not really a good explanation. This is not going to tell you what's going on. What's going on here? Is it okay? Your main conductors is basically atoms that have an electron in your valence electron shell, your outermost shell of the atom. And they only have like one valence. It's not full valence shell, but it's a full valence shell. You're going to have a noble gas like these guys over here, and they're not going to want to do much chemistry or create electricity. But if you have, say, something like iron, cobalt, or nickel, especially, these are known as the big three for magnets, where they're very magnetic materials. Not much all these other things. I mean, there are some like neodymium and I don't know, a couple others, but for the most part, these are your big three that actually exhibit what we call magnetism. And they are conductors. They do have the ability to release electrons from their valence shell because it's not full, it's not in an energetically stable state exactly, and to receive them. So you have, let's say this is the one, I mean, technically it would be in your valence electron shell here, right? Well, let's say this atom, or this guy, this electron is going to come across being forced by electric current, and it's going to bump into this guy. It's going to go boop, and then this guy is going to go and he's going to get ejected out of the atom. And now the atom is still happy because the atom still has its electron. It wants to be happy, but it doesn't care what electron. It just wants a electron. Protons are not picky, bro. They just want an electron. They don't care what electron. So, and then this electron and now is going to go off on its own way in that direction until it hits another atom, and it's going to do the same thing. This is how electricity is conducted in atoms, contiguously going boop, 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 down a line from atom to atom in this manner. And the reason why this is able to happen is because of the chemistry of the electrons in the valence shell. They are willing to let go their proton, or the proton's willing to let go of them, shall I say. And for another one, it's a very lucid transaction. Okay? So, basically, this problem is going to get rid of this. This is not a good one. These three atoms have valence electrons shells that are good at allowing this to happen. Okay? Now, these guys over here, you would think would, but the periodic table is a funny thing. You go over one row and everything can change. Nothing may change, or everything could change. So even though copper, silver, and gold are the best electrical conductors, like the best, better than iron, better than nickel, better than cobalt, because of the way that their valence electrons are, they form some, like, I don't know, some cloud thing. We'll get into it in a minute. But basically what you need to know is there's a difference. Even though all of these have, like, valence electrons that are open to being bumped out as a conductor of electricity, because they're at a different spot in the periodic table, that's going to change slightly and take different approaches, and different mechanisms are going to dominate. All right, so here is the number of valence electrons, right? And you can tell, you know, this is going off copper. They're saying it has 8, 9. I don't think it's that many valence electrons. When I take a look at this, we're going to look at, I don't know what they're trying to say here. This is Wikipedia. I love it, but sometimes they're written by people that just get confuse you more than anything. All right. Okay. Now we're gonna come back to that. Trust me. This is the ultimate explanation on how permanent magnets, anyways, are created. Electric magnets are a slightly different beast, and we're going to go into that too. But permanent magnets have basically the valence electron, okay, of, let's say, iron. It is, like I said, it's a good, it doesn't have a whole lot. It's willing to, this proton is willing to let go of this electron for another one to ensue flow of electricity, okay? This is one atom, okay? So what happens is we will have a bunch of atoms. I'm just going to have a bunch of atoms. Boop, boop, beep, bop, 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 boop, beep, beep, bop, 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 beep, beep, boop, beep, bop, 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 bop. And some of these are going to have ups orientations and down orientations, let's say north and south poles. So they're going to counteract each other, right? Well, when you make a permanent magnet, what they do is they heat up the iron or whatever they're doing, and then they expose it to an intense magnetic field. And what that does is that changes the orientation of all of these up, north, and south poles, electrons of your atoms, and it changes them all in the same direction. Maybe not all, but mostly, right? And so now when you have enough of these guys, they work together as a larger atom with a valence electron. Like a larger effect is created because now they're all working in the same direction for the same goal, a magnetic dipole moment. And this is what is called a domain. And then you will have right next to it another domain that, for whatever reason, is oriented against it. All right? And you have to have more domains going this direction, say north orientation, than south orientation, if you want to have a magnet. If they're all like this, it's not going to work. So that's why you got to have a strong external magnet to create a magnet. So that is a domain. So when they're talking about these are what these represents. These are microscopic things, okay? Look here. Microcrystalline grains within a piece of iron and boron, blah, blah, blah. The alloy used in neodymium magnets with magnet domains made visible with a Kerr microscope. And you can even see this striping going here. That's from the magnetic field, because that means the domain's not totally aligned. But let's say, for simplicity's sake, and it's never this simple when you're talking about atoms, because there's a bazillion of them. But for simplicity's sake, let's say all of these iron atoms in this domain are going north alignment. And all of these ones right next to it are south alignment. And then these are north alignment, south alignment, north alignment, north alignment, north alignment, south alignment, south alignment, north alignment. You see, it gets kind of getting through it. And in the end, there's a lot more of these that are going north and south, so you have a magnet. But you see how even though you try and make them all go the same direction, which make an insanely powerful magnet, it just doesn't want to work out that way. So this creates sort of a tension in the magnet where these domains are constantly battling with each other over dominance to try and exert their direction of polarity over their neighboring domains. Okay? That's what's going on a permanent magnet on a subatomic, or not subatomic, but on a microscopic level. Okay? And this causes, and they flip back and forth all the time. And this causes the flow of electricity, causes the creation and the flow of electricity, which is effectively what's causing the magnetism. Okay? It's not just the fact that this domain is a bunch of aligned iron atoms. They're acting as a magnet. It is also the electric flow, which is caused from the tension of the domains battling each other for supremacy, all to go in one alignment to have maximum entropy reserved, I guess, or conserved. Maybe I got that backwards. I did fail quantum mechanics, not quantum mechanics. I did fail thermodynamics. Class was ridiculous. Okay, so that's a domain. That's what's going on a permanent magnet from an atomic level to a microscopic level. Okay? Now, why is iron magnetic, unlike other metals? Because you would think then, like I said originally, from our periodic table that we went into, that pretty much anything that's a conductor should theoretically behave as a magnet. And it kind of does. But there's a catch. There's a gimmick. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay, so many materials become magnetized when we hold them close, blah, blah, blah. Remnant magnetization, da-da-da. Okay, spins. Yeah, here we go. Nickel, cobalt, gadolinium. Iron is the only material capable of possessing remnant magnetization. Nickel, cobalt, and lesser-known gallium do it as well, although compounds containing one of these four metals, who really wants to understand this phenomenon will quickly stumble upon quantum mechanics, the complex science of behavior, matter, energy in a very small subatomic scale. Quantum mechanics is not bad, and it's not wrong. It's just misunderstood. It is quite simply they don't understand what the equations are calculating. They think it is wave functions that's actually probabilities disguised as wave functions. So basically quantum mechanics is valid in a lot of ways, but it's also bullshit if you take it at face value and listen to a quantum mechanics person try and tell you how everything works. It's not right. Okay. So, spins. Spins. This is important. The occurrence of magnetization is by means of spins, a quantum mechanical concept that describes energy management of electrons. Exactly in the four elements, nickel, cobalt, and gadolinium, there is an interaction between so-called unpaired spins. This interaction ensures that the magnetic moments of atoms can permanently align with each other. The sum of all these magnetizations form net magnetizations of materials, aka domains. And so it's basically saying that's how you create a domain, okay? So, these spins and counterspins are the way that the valence electron shell is in an iron atom. Okay, this is an iron atom. This is what they're talking about. One spin up, one spin down, and the electron shell. Okay? Now, if we start going into copper, well, why isn't copper magnetic? Copper alloys, primarily based in copper, are considered non-magnetic because the copper's atomic structure. In nature to magnetism, metals result in an uneven distribution of electrons with atomic structure of the magnetic material. Electrons flow from one shell and the next and are free to spin. Excuse me, brain damage from the war. This free flow of electrons creates magnetic dipoles. Okay, they're telling you what a magnet is. While copper atoms do have single electrons in their valence or outermost shell, when multiple copper atoms come together, these valence electrons get sent into the cloud, which forms metallic bonds, which the copper atoms, this makes copper diamagnetic, means it repels magnetic fields. Now, it's not actually diamagnetic. I mean, it is, but diamagnetic doesn't actually mean that it repels. I mean, it does go against the grain of a magnet, but it's not always going against the grain. It's only going against the grain in the presence of a magnetic field. And we're going to explain why that is, okay? why copper is diamagnetic and gold and silver, but iron and nickel are magnetic. Okay, so here is a copper atom. And you can see here's the valence electron, the green. It's only got one, right? So remember, iron had one up spin and one down spin. Copper only has one up spin, or electron configuration. Here it says down, down. Okay? So this is the difference atomically, and the way that manifests itself is
together they behave in strange ways.
There we go. You see that? You see that? Look at it again.
Reasonable price, along with some very strong neodymium magnets. Together they behave in strange ways.
And he's going to let go with some magnet, and this is the copper chunk. The copper is not emitting any repulsive magnetic field. It's not the anti-magnet. But due to its structure, what happens is when it does allow electrons to flow, as iron does too, the iron only allows the electrons to flow in the direction going with the magnetic force it is going against it. Well, copper does the opposite. As the magnet gets closer to the copper, it does have electric current that is created called eddy currents, is what they're called, eddy currents. But they go against the direction of the magnetic field of your magnet, your permanent magnet. So what it actually does is the more force you push with the magnet to get into contact with the copper, the more the eddy currents, the current flow, electricity, is flowing through the copper that is going in the opposite direction, that is making it repel against the magnet. Where in iron will only allow them to go with the magnetic flow's direction. So that's why when you do this, when you put a magnet to an iron, it sticks always. It bloop, sucks it right up. Copper, it doesn't want to do that. And if you try and force it and move it a lot real quick, it's going to resist it in the form of eddy currents. And this is what that looks like. Look at that.
Copper.
Look at that. It didn't even touch it. You had a nice heavy ball. You notice that this could be like 20 pounds. It doesn't matter. And it just swung with the force of gravity, full force, probably let that thing go up high, whoop, and it just stopped like magic before it, without ever even touching the copper.
Behave in strange ways.
Yeah,
Copper is not magnetic, so they don't exactly attract each other.
Like
but
I
at the
said,
same time, this
and then it does strange things too. Like there's the eddy currents where it is trying to attract, but it can't. But the eddy currents are repelling it, so it ends up just basically slowing it down like molasses as it goes down and gravity takes
drags
force.
across the plate slowly, like it's moving through a thick fluid. It's even more interesting if I drop the magnet on the plate. It slows down midair and gently floats to the...
Literally, look at that. You're dropping a heavy, like 5-pound magnet on a copper plate, and it barely, slowly, gently touches.
Slows down midair and gently floats to the surface.
Look at that. Look at that. Let me do it slow motion, so you can really, really see this, man. This is really important.
Slows down midair and gently...
You see that? That is because as the magnet is coming in contact with the copper, and the magnetic field is forcing the flow of electrons, creating electrons and forcing them to flow, those electrons are going counter opposite to the magnetic field's orientation, which now makes it an anti-magnet. Now it makes it a south pole when, say, you have a north pole. So they're going to, my bad. It makes it a north pole with a north pole, so they repel each other, not attract. Where iron, it turns it into like a south pole when you have a north pole, so they attract, okay? Now, this is basically what's going on here, right? And so let's say you have two magnets, right? And they're both going the same direction. Boop, boop, boop. What's going to happen here is as these come together in this orientation, they're going to stick. Because as this magnet is affecting this field, and this one is affecting this field, they are pushing. They're moving the electrons remember it here in these atoms. They're causing electrons to be created, and then electric current to flow. And when that current flows, it goes in the same direction as the current flowing in the magnet. It's forcing it to go the same direction, which means it's all the same orientation, which means these do not oppose. Bloop. So no matter what metal it is, it's always going to have it going the right direction if it's like iron or copper or iron or nickel. But if it's copper, it's going to go the opposite direction. So now you're going to have the diamagnetic effect. But if it's two magnets together, then they have to be going in the same direction, and they will. If they're the same poles, like if this is the North Pole and this is the North Pole, they will both line up. Click. You know, like there's a South Pole right here, and this is the North. The North and the South have to touch, right? But you see, but it's ultimately going the same direction. And if we take this and guess we'll just have to redo it. If we take this and have it go the opposite direction, bloop, boop, then now by definition, instead of, remember, with this magnet, your magnetic field is going this direction, which means this is your north. With this one, now your magnetic field is going this direction, which means this is your north. Right? So this is going to be your south. Well, guess what? This is your south right here. So you have two souths that you're trying to move together, click, 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 and they repel each other. They're acting like diamagnetic. Diamagnetic. They don't want to go. Because it's not because they're acting like magnets that just have this constant force. It's because it is inducing a current flow that is perpendicular. Or it has a current flow that is perpendicular. And what that current flow does is the current flow is what creates the magnet, okay? That's how you have electric magnets, okay? Now, this is probably a good example here.
The piece of metal is attracted by both poles.
See,
but when it comes to the two permanent magnets, you can have either attraction.
He's basically saying, listen, man, these are the magnets. Yep, see north and south. As I just said, and we have south and south. Nope, and that's because of reasons that I just described here, okay? But here's where he starts going to electric magnets.
An electromagnet
interesting.
Consists of a coil of wire connected to a power supply or a battery and an iron core.
They do.
Let's just test the iron core using a permanent magnet.
Yes. See?
Attracted.
Doesn't matter which side, it will attract it because it's iron, as I explained. But when he pits it
depending on the direction of the current in the coil, when this coil becomes an electromagnet, we're going to have the two poles at the two ends of the coil. This could be north, this could be south, and then if we reverse the direction of the current, this is going to be south, this is going to be magnetic north. So let's try to see the interaction between an electromagnet and a permanent magnet.
Yes. It's going to turn on the electric magnet.
Switch the current through the electromagnet. Whoop. And in this case,
sucks it up.
We have attraction.
Because it is north.
I maintain the current through the electromagnet.
And it won't. It won't go.
See
it won't go.
That we have
because,
if we
as I tried to explain to you, it's not that the magnet is acting like a magnet that creates a magnet. It's the fact that the magnet is inducing a current flow, which creates a magnetic force due to the right-hand rule. And now, when you have a magnetic force created from a magnet, now it sticks.
Change the direction.
And when you have an electric magnet, you can change it either which direction by the polarity, as he just did. He just swapped the polarity of the
and
wires.
As you could see, we had repulsion now towards the green pole and attraction towards
there we go. Now it's opposite of what it was before. So that's basically how an electric magnet works. And remember, if I said earlier how you would expect, if this were the case, that the strongest magnetic field would actually be on the sides and not on this part. Despite what happened to it? Yeah, here it looks like it's all over. And it is kind of all over. But what you got to remember is that
electromagnet, it generates a magnetic field, and you should be able to lift paper.
Now, and when you look at this, look at it. He created this magnetic field just by wrapping up, like, you know, a bolt with wires and then electrolyzing it. All right? But when he does that...
Now, use the alligator clips in your kit to connect both ends of the coil to the battery terminals. Make sure you clip onto the copper wire while current flows through the electrodes. To create the magnetic field,
when he goes in there,
should be able
those paper clips, are they more attracted to, by this right here? I know this is impromptu, but are they more attracted to right here, the center, or the sides? Look at it. They're all on the sides. There's really hardly any in the center. They're all attracted to the sides, as you would expect. Now, there is magnetic attraction in the center. It's just not as optimized the sides because the way that the right-hand rule works. So, I think that's pretty much about it. I think we've done a really good job of covering magnets, both permanent and electric, and how magnets are used to create electricity and what's going on there. Everything as I promised. Did I not deliver? Have I ever failed you yet, my child? Ever? Look at all my other videos. Do I not deliver? When I promise, I deliver. So, now you can be confident in knowing that you, my child, my geek, are one of the very, very small minority of human beings on this planet that fully understand, mostly understand magnetic fields. Literally, easily, if you watch my video and paid attention from start to finish, you're 100% in the top 1% of people on the planet that understand what's going on with magnetic fields. 100%. Maybe more like probably in the top 10,000 people on the planet, to be perfectly honest. But I hope I enlightened you a little bit today. I got a few more videos coming in the works. I got things I got to do. I got a life I have to live. I have things. It is what it is. I'm what I am. Blah, blah. All right. And with that, I wish you have a great day. Catch you on the flip side. Adios, muchachos. Bye.
Like, subscribe, submit.